First, the bookies, very important. You've got to go to the bookies first. They have the coalition at $3.10 and Labor $1.40. But that will tighten considerably because of two major realities. First, it's a long 6-week campaign which suits the Prime Minister. We even saw today how polished, succinct and to the point he was after returning from Government House.
Our economic recovery measures, especially JobKeeper, saved some 700,000 jobs. And our health response, working together, has saved, compared to other countries, tens of thousands of lives. On almost any measure, on fatality rates from COVID, vaccine rates, economic growth, jobs growth, or debt levels, Australia's recovery is leading the world.
He was direct, he used the data, whereas Anthony Albanese is renowned for his long-winded answers, which dovetail from the question to something entirely different. Now, that has been curtailed of late, but he has a predilection for doing that. And he plays up to the Canberra gallery as well, trying to score silly points quite often, like today, when he made sure everyone knew that he held a longer press conference.
Australians deserve better, and over the coming weeks, I'll be taking more of your questions. I note that I've taken a lot more than my opponent did today, and I'm really looking forward to campaigning over the next 6 weeks. I love campaigns.
I've taken a lot more questions. Big whoop. Big whoop. What's that even mean? That the Prime Minister doesn't like taking questions? Well, he's held double the press conferences run by Albanese because he happens to be the Prime Minister. He's running the joint. And does he think we've forgotten that when the so-called Mean Girls bullying scandal broke, Albanese went missing in action for 2 days? The length of a press conference is meaningless. And if answering questions is important to Anthony Albanese, why wouldn't the Labor leader answer one question from the bloke who turned up to his WA press conference last week? What a classic case of damage control. Making sure that nothing gets out of place, not even the hair, and certainly not a question that might be a little bit tough to answer. Now, the second reason why those betting numbers will draw closer as this 6-week campaign goes on and give the coalition a lot of hope is that Albanese has played a small target game. He hasn't been under the same scrutiny as someone like the Prime Minister, who, as we all know, sections of the media have been rioting and willing him out of office. That's been their hot story. There's less interest, of course, in who's new, ready to govern. So the scrutiny and the spotlight has been on the Prime Minister for about 2 years. And look at today's question from my colleague here, James Morrow, to Anthony Albanese this afternoon. Now, he wanted to know that if a Labor government was cracking down on multinationals, this is their new taxes policy, how much money would they recoup? Now, it's a crucial item to know because you've got to ascertain how Labor intends to pay for all their childcare and climate policies. They're goodies. But did we hear the figure?
Can you tell us when we can start to expect some dollar figures around your policies? And can you put a dollar figure on how much money you expect to raise from the crackdown on multinational tax avoidance?
We've put dollars on our policies. If you look at, for example, our policy that I used to get asked about, and I'll bet you I don't today, on climate change. We were asked what our 2030 target would be. I said very early on that we would declare that after the Glasgow conference and after the government released a policy. We have, that's just one example of the most comprehensive, fully costed plan for any policy that any opposition has put forward since Federation.
He's right. Unlike Bill Shorten, he has costed net zero by 2030, but we didn't hear the answer to the actual question. No figure at all on what he'll recoup, but he has a plan. Of course, we've heard it constantly. He has a plan. All costed, he says, although that one is not. And Labor is yet to show us how they'll pay for their goodies in total. We don't have a fully costed rundown yet. Of course, the Prime Minister was able to give us one through the Treasurer on budget night. Now, this will be dangerous territory for Labor because Albanese will be under full-scale scrutiny every morning, every lunchtime, every afternoon press conference and even at night. Remember what Mark Latham revealed only last week on Sky, how Albo's DNA was for a large public service, people earning over $100,000 paying more tax, and he detested the economic policies of Bob Hawke and Paul Keating. He's got to somehow hide and shelve all of those heartfelt political philosophies and withstand 41 days of scrutiny as someone with a whole new view of politics and the economy. That's what he's got to do. He's tried very hard to do it so far. It's very hard, though, in the media game to stand in front of cameras and microphones up to 4 times a day and be someone you're not. You can't hide it. The mob will find you out. And that can only play into the hands of the coalition. It's not a presidential campaign. Australians should not be voting for who they like or against who they dislike. It's which team with which leader can do the job and which team and which leader cannot.